It's 1077 The Bone, Baby Huey here, and you all know I love everything comic book and superhero related, from movies to TV shows, and this is why I'm so excited to be talking to the star of the brand new Marvel movie, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Shang-Chi himself, Simu Liu. How's it going, Simu?
I'm very good, baby Huey. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. Like, here we are, finally opening weekend. I would just love to get your thoughts, your emotions. Finally, this movie that you've been working on for such a long time. How you feeling that it's finally out now?
I feel pretty good. Our team's been passing up the projections and the box office reports and stuff, and I'm going through it for literally the first time in my life. So everything's exciting for me. We always knew that we had a good movie on our hands, but we
Hmm.
knew that there were things going on in the world that we had no control over. So I
Yeah.
think we were optimistic, but we weren't too we weren't too reliant on this possibility of a really, really awesome opening weekend. And just the fact that the world has shown up and my community has shown up has just been just a tremendous feeling. So we're so deeply grateful to everybody that's come out to support us. And, we hope that it'll keep happening.
That's great to hear, and I'm just so happy for you. And I know this is uh, for the last couple of years, things have changed, obviously for the better. So, I heard you explain in other interviews that you got the role, and then a few days later, it was announced at the 2019 Comic Con where you make your big debut. And I imagine from that point on, your life changed completely. So, what moment or is there an incident where you realize, yeah, my life is never going to be the same? And, it's like for the better, but you're like, yeah, I'm in the Marvel movie, I'm in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But yeah, things are different from here on out.
Yeah, I probably had two of those moments, and one right at the beginning, walking out onto the stage in Comic Con
Yeah.
and being, next to the likes of like Angelina Jolie and like David Harbour and Scarlett Johansson, Anthony Mackie, Chris Hemsworth, like literally some of the most famous people on earth. And then, me with my like $14 sweater that I had got from Zara.
Yeah.
No team. It was just literally myself, my manager. But the second time was probably at the premiere. It just felt like such a full circle moment because I mean, when you're shooting, you kind of just feel like you're working,
Hmm.
and it's a job like any other job. But being there on the red carpet, seeing the finished product, seeing the posters and the marketing and the fans, some of whom had deconstructed the outfit from the trailers and built it for themselves, which is just absolutely insane. Really, really hit home just how big of a phenomenon this was and was going to be.
That's great to hear. And, I for me as a comic book fan, I know for me, like I try my best, going into a movie, trying to research and learn more about the character if it's not someone I know too much about. So for you, how do you prepare for this role? And like the physical stuff I'll ask about in a second, but I mean more in regard to just learning about the character. Does this Marvel like hand you a stack of comics and say, here, read all this? Or do you fall down like the YouTube wormhole and just watch all these different YouTube videos explain the
Right.
origin of the character? Or do you even meet with the creators of the comics, Steve Englehart and Jim Starlin? I know they're still alive and they were at the premiere. So, like,
Mhm.
yeah, it was the whole process of just learning about who this character is from the comics per se.
Right. So actually, my entry point to the character was just through Destin, was the
Okay.
director, and I was going to let his kind of idea about the story that he wanted to tell shape how I was going to prepare for it. And
Mm-hmm.
right from day one, we said, let's not lean into the comics
Okay.
in any way that would be seen as stereotypical or tropey. And I mean, let's be real, like those comic books that debuted in the 1970s. I mean, they don't portray Asian people very well.
Yeah.
And that includes the title character. I mean, and his father is Fu Manchu. He's got his massively offensive beard. Everybody speaks like, they're reciting Confucian proverbs. So,
Mhm.
so we didn't want to make that movie. Destin had no interest in making that movie. I had no interest in playing that character.
Mhm.
And so, we focused instead on the story that he wanted to tell, which was something that was kind of entirely new in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. I think it kept this idea that he had a really complicated relationship with his father, but brought the stories and the characters into 2021 and told it through a predominantly Asian gaze. And so we built the story around, Sean's struggles with his past, about, him trying to run away in San Francisco, hiding in plain sight, parking cars with his best friend Katie. We built it around these feelings that, we felt like all Asian Americans feel, being caught between two worlds and two cultures. And from there, we built what I thought was an extremely compelling character around it.
Yeah, no, I definitely respect how this movie I think could be very relatable and accurate to the whole Asian community out there. So, I mean, for you, how excited are you to be in Marvel's first ever you be Marvel's first ever Asian superhero led actor in a movie? I mean, that must be just a tremendous feeling, but also maybe some pressure as well.
Yeah, I didn't start feeling the pressure until very, very recently. Seeing the trailers come out and seeing the action figures and the posters and all that. So I'm starting to realize how truly, truly global Marvel is.
Yeah.
But it feels like we're able to give something to the world that I never had as a kid. And I think for little Asian kids watching the movie everywhere, I think it means something very, very special to them to have a superhero that looks like them, reflects them, but is aspirational, is cool, is saving the world.
Yeah.
And then for even those outside our community, I think it's just a bridge of culture. And we get to share this movie in our language, and so many things with the entire world.
So you just touched on the toys and merchandise. So I would love, just I'm curious, like I'm a collector of various
Okay.
figures and stuff like this, and my coworkers make fun of me on the air all the time for that. But I would love to ask you, like, does Marvel like at once just send you like all the toys, all the action figures, all the T-shirts, Funko Pops, I don't, whatever your name is now part of? Do you have all that stuff at your home now? And like, are you gonna make like maybe like a shrine or something of all this stuff you have?
I have mountains of stuff. I didn't know that Marvel was going to send me a little care package. So, I mean, the toys I think came out like right around right around my birthday. So Marvel has sent a massive kind of birthday present that was just a box full of toys,
Yeah.
which was awesome. And then shortly after, the action figures released, and I just started hitting up Targets all over the city where I was, just being, trying to buy out as much as I could, because I was so scared that nobody would buy the toys and that they would just sit on the shelf. Because we're still like 4 months out from release. Nobody knew what the characters were. Nobody knew what the story was, or like even who Shang-Chi was.
Yeah.
I was like running, and my friends were scrambling everywhere, and we are just buying up as much as we saw. And then what ended up happening is we just have this like massive pile sitting in my room somewhere of like the Funkos, of the Legends, of the Titans, like all of them. The only one I don't have, the only one that hasn't come out yet, is the Hot Toy. But
Oh
I'm really
yes.
looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, that those are like amazing, just the ones over the years, especially the Marvel characters.
Yeah.
So I will definitely try my best to get one as well.
Are you a Hot Toy collector? Is that
I
what you're
mean, so I have the Legends. I have a bunch of those. Like, I have bins in my closet now. Here, if you go in my closet, like I've helped like Iron Man, Captain America, all throughout the years, and it's like they're stacking up. And it's like eventually one day I would like to, like, in my home office here, I would like to like maybe make a whole display of them all. So one
Yeah.
day when I have some free time, I'd love to do that. But
I want to tell you a story about on set, being on set. I was in Prospect Park in Sydney, Australia,
okay,
filming, and Jonathan Schwartz, my creative producer, comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, do you want to FaceTime Kevin Feige right now? Because he wants to talk to you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he brings the phone up, and he goes on FaceTime, and Kevin is like, the screen pops up, and he's in his basement, which he has converted into just the greatest, quite possibly the greatest display of rare action figures I've ever seen in the world. And he's like, "Hello, Simu. I heard that you thought you were a bigger Star Wars fan than me." And then he just kind of like gestures behind him, to all of these like old school 1970s, 1980s action figures that are probably worth thousands and thousands of dollars. And he's just got them, every single one of them. And he's like, "What do you think?" So I guess the moral of that story is never apologize for your action figure collectingness, because one of the most incredible and prolific producers of all time is a massive action figure hoarder and collector. So there
That's
you go.
awesome. There you go. No, thank you for confirming what I do. My personal time is very much worth it. So thank you for that. But listen, Shang-Chi is in the comics known for as one of the best hand-to-hand combat fighters in the
Mm.
comics. And so how do you train for this role? Like, how long does it take for you to learn everything that's required for this movie before you jump on set? Like, yeah, what's the whole process for that?
I mean, I'm sure that preparation process could have been years,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, that's not the speed at which our industry moves. So
Hmm.
I had about 6 months from the moment that I was cast, and I
Okay.
pretty much started right away in Toronto, and then we went down to LA to do a month of prep there, some pre-production, and then went to Australia shortly after that. So I had trainers in all three cities. We worked constantly every single day. You know, sometimes 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours, sometimes 6 hours, especially when we got closer to the start of production in Australia. It was about 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. That was just stunts. So doing all the movement stuff, the stretches.
Hmm.
So working flexibility, choreography, explosiveness. And then after that, doing an hour of the bodybuilding and the strength and conditioning. Because these Marvel movies are no joke. And especially if, one as action heavy as ours, I had to make sure that my body could withstand all of it. So yeah, it all amounted to just about the most grueling prep process you could ever imagine for a movie. I remember coming home and not even like making it to the shower. I would collapse on the bed and just fall asleep. And I would wake up at like 2 in the morning and like drag myself into the shower. It was just absolute exhaustion. But we knew that we had a lot of catch up work to do. I was by no means a kung fu master, so had to really grind it out.
No, I mean, look, the work paid off. I mean, the movie is beautifully shot from all the fight sequence
Thank
and
you.
choreography. I do want to touch on the bus scene real quick, but before that, listen, as someone who's born and raised here in the Bay Area, I popped for the beginning part of this movie, which takes place
Mhm.
in San Francisco. So, just your experience filming here in the Bay Area.
I'm so sorry to tell you this, baby Huey, but we actually did not film any of it in San Francisco. That is movie magic, and it was not our intention. We
Hmm.
wanted to be in the Bay Area. We had plans to be in the Bay Area near the end of our shoot. Of course, pandemic hit, we shut down. When we came back, we had to really look at our options and evaluate what we could do. And so what we ended up doing was we built the lobby or the entrance to the
Yeah.
Fairmont, um, just in Sydney.
Oh,
And
really?
yep. And we shot that bus sequence with the Mooney buses that we had shipped already. We shot them on gimbals on blue screen, and then we had a splinter unit in San Francisco do those shots, but with their own crew. And then we
Wow.
blended the shots together to make it seem like we were actually there.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I did not know that. I mean, that movie magic right there.
Yeah, I feel
Uh,
like a magician who has just revealed like his trick. But yes, I mean, obviously, pandemic was awful for all of us, and
yeah.
it just required very, very creative problem solving. And
Well, listen, I know it's a busy day for you doing press. It's opening weekend for you. I love the whole bus scene, that fight sequence there, legendary. I mean, I saw one interview. I think it took like a month to film that scene, right?
did.
It's
It did. And even then, I mean, it took so much longer to plan out. I mean, you talk about not just the action in it, like what the fighters are doing, what I'm doing, but like how the camera reacts to all those things. I mean, that's really what makes this such a complicated and intricate dance. And so, yeah, I mean, we shot it over a month. We banged and scraped our knees and elbows on just about everything in that thing that
yeah.
stuck out, but it really was the product of a lot more in terms of just the preparation, the design, the rehearsal, the testing, and then finally getting to the shooting.
That's great. Well, listen, Simu, I just want to thank you for the time. As someone who works at a rock station, I'm so happy now I have something different to talk about with Hotel California from the Eagles. I have a new
Yes.
reference now to talk about. But listen, I love the movie from the story, the whole family dynamic, the action, the fighting, what the movie means to so many people now. And I just want to thank you for your time and congrats on everything.
Dude, I appreciate that. Thank you, Huey.
You're welcome. So go see Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings. It's out now. Simu, great talking to you, and I hope we could do this again real soon. Thank you.
Do it. Let's do it. All right. Be
Awesome.
well, buddy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.